This is a full story. Kitten wishes you all a happy and enjoyable story. In the 4th year of my marriage to Hailey, she got into a car accident. When she woke up, her memory had regressed to the time when she was most in love with her first love. She refused to believe we were married, insisting that she had always hated me. I tried everything I could to help her remember our 4 years together, but nothing worked. Later, in a moment of desperation, I watched her run without hesitation into the arms of her first love. That was when I gave up. The day I agreed to the divorce, Hailey suddenly remembered everything, but by then, I had already let go. The day Hailey woke up, she was adamant about divorcing me. I stood at the doorway, holding the soup I had stewed all night, when she smashed her cup at my feet. "Get out, I don't want to see you." Boiling hot water splashed on my hand. I forced a smile, pretending not to feel the sting. "I made you some soup. Please drink a little first, okay?" Hailey turned away, not even looking at me. She just said 2 words, "Get out." I set the soup down and walked out, no longer able to keep the smile on my face. Outside the hospital, I squatted by the roadside, biting an unlit cigarette, bitter and lost. This was the 4th year of our marriage. I had chased her for nearly 4 years, before she even began to acknowledge my existence. And now, even that small sliver of affection was gone. I thought idly, maybe marrying Hailey had been the luckiest thing that ever happened to me. Back then, Hailey had a boyfriend. I would never come between lovers, so I simply liked her from afar, never crossing any lines. If Tony hadn't chosen to study abroad, I wouldn't even have had the chance to pursue her. It was only after Tony left that I openly started courting her. For years ago, she finally agreed to marry me. It was an ordinary dinner for us, and after the meal, she casually said, "Rocky, we should go register for marriage someday." It took me a full 30 seconds to realize I hadn't misheard her. Once I did, I blurted, "Wait for me," and rushed out the door. I only bought a bouquet of flowers, afraid that if I took longer, she might change her mind and leave. My heart was pounding, palms sweaty with nerves. That night, I knelt on the ground with the flowers, my eyes slowly welling with tears. Looking up, I saw Hailey sitting there in a beautiful dress, radiant and dazzling. Then, as now, she was exactly my type. Word by word, I made my vow to her. "Hailey, will you marry me? I swear I'll treat you well." She accepted my flowers, and at that moment, my restless heart finally settled. Later, I proposed properly again, a dreamlike setting, gifts, a ring, our families and friends all present. I knew Hailey didn't marry me because she deeply loved me. Perhaps it was because I was too persistent, or maybe it was just time for her to settle down. Since she chose me, I never questioned it. We were married for 4 years, and I was happy just to follow behind her, watching her every move. It didn't matter if she didn't love me much, because I loved her enough for both of us. If only the accident hadn't happened, if only her memory hadn't stopped. At the time she loved Tony most, I would have gladly kept dreaming for the rest of my life. But the worst part wasn't that Hailey hated me now, or that she refused to acknowledge our marriage. It was that Tony had returned. Tony, Hailey's first love. There was no hiding it from him. After Hailey woke up, both our parents gently told her she had been married to me for 4 years. They even showed her the marriage certificate. Hailey just glanced at it and looked away. So what she said, "We can just get divorced." Who knows what trick he used to get me to marry him. Besides, I remember clearly, the one I love is Tony. The more we explained, the more agitated she became. Her body was still recovering, and whenever her emotions spiked, she'd suffer from intense headaches. The doctor said we had to go along with her and avoid upsetting her, so I stood silently behind the door, watching her on the hospital bed for a long time. After that, I told both our parents not to mention anything to her again. I boxed up the marriage certificate, tucked it into the bottom drawer, and packed away all our photos and couple keepsakes. I told myself, it's fine. She forgot Meso what. She hates Meso what. I'll win her over again. But Tony's return caught me completely off guard. He hadn't changed much from high school. Always polite and warm, with a soft, sunny face. Jealousy twisted in my chest. He may look gentle, but he didn't know how to take care of her like I did. Why couldn't Hailey forget him? The next day, I ran into Tony at the hospital. I hadn't known he'd come. It was Peter, my childhood friend, who had told me Tony was back, but I didn't expect to see him. Already by Hailey's side, I stood in the doorway, holding the soup I had made, watching the two of them talking, as if no one else existed. At one point, Hailey even laughed softly. Her pale face lit up, livelier than I'd seen in weeks. When they noticed me, the room fell silent. Awkward. I clenched the thermos tighter, forcing a smile. "Hailey, I made the soup you like. Drink it while it's hot." Before she could speak, Tony cut in. "Hailey just recovered. Something greasy like this isn't good for her. I brought some supplements instead." I froze. Hailey's injuries were worst in her head and leg, so every time, I'd prepare soup the night before and bring it the next day, even if she always told me to leave. I knew she still drank it afterward, but this time, I wasn't so sure. I placed the soup down, mumbled "I'll go smoke," and left quickly, embarrassed. As I left, I heard Tony say, "He's still the same," and Hailey replied indifferently, He's always like that. Her voice carried a trace of disgust. After that, I stopped visiting. I still made food, but asked my parents to deliver it instead. The day before Hailey was discharged, Peter invited me out for a drink. He said he wanted to show me something good. When I arrived, Tony was there. I understood immediately. Peter handed me a drink, then said, "You don't know how to be a proper man, Tony. My bro liked Hailey when she was still your girlfriend, but he never crossed the line. You're the one who gave up and went abroad. He chased her for 2 years and finally married her. Now she's in trouble, and you show up trying to take advantage. Are you even human?" I didn't know how Peter dragged him here, but he was clearly drunk. I grabbed his arm, quietly saying, "Stop drinking. Let's go home." Peter pointed at me, his face flushed. "Furious. You coward. That's your wife." I stayed silent. Then Tony stepped up smiling. "So what if Hailey broke up with me after I left the country? She still loves me now, doesn't she?" "Oh right. Did you know? She was way more affectionate when she was with me than with you. She used to." He didn't finish. My fist landed square on his face. Was I angry, furious? Of course. I'd loved Hailey for nearly 8 years, and one accident had erased everything I worked for. Who could I blame? Why did someone like him, who did nothing, get her love so easily? Why didn't he cherish it while I had to fight so hard to win it? I cursed under my breath, then punched again with all my strength. Tony curled up on the floor, arms covering his head. I gave him one last kick. "Don't ever talk about your past with her again. You're not worthy." The next day I found out Peter meant to help me vent, but Tony, he had provoked me on purpose. The doctor had set my discharge time for the afternoon. Just as I was about to leave, I saw Tony return with Hailey. He still wore the bruise I gave him the night before. This morning I happened to run into Hailey at the hospital, so I brought her home along the way. Hailey stood in front of him, frowning at me. "Rocky, apologize to Tony." I froze, unable to speak. Tony gently pulled at Hailey's hand. "It's fine, Hailey. Rocky was drunk last night. That's why we fought. An apology isn't necessary." His tone was warm, like he didn't want us to argue. The scene was ridiculous. So ridiculous. I laughed out loud. I laughed so hard. I began coughing. After catching my breath, I laughed bitterly. "Tony, you really are disgusting." Tony's expression changed. He fell silent. "Rocky, Tony's right. You're just like in high school. You haven't changed at all." Hailey looked at me with contempt, like I was trash on the side of the road. "In high school, you were just a troublemaker, fighting, smoking, causing problems. And now, you're still the same. Still someone I can't stand." I closed my eyes, letting those words echo in my head, over and over again. I understood now. The Hailey who had forgotten the last 4 years with me felt nothing but disgust, just like the first time she saw me in high school. She would have rather walked the long way to avoid me. But back then, even a glance from her could make me happy for days. I lowered my head in defeat and spoke hoarsely, still trying to hold on to a shred of dignity. "Tell him to leave. This is our home. He has no place here." Tony's goal was met. He said a few gentle words to Hailey, then left. The next day, Hailey handed me the signed divorce papers. "This is the divorce agreement. Take a look. If everything's fine, sign it." I froze, then turned away. "I'm not signing." Hailey frowned impatiently. "Why not? If it's about money, everything is split evenly. The house can go back to you. I'll even give you an extra $1 million. This house was mine, bought with most of my savings. It was supposed to be our home." I took a deep breath and returned the agreement. "I won't sign it." Hailey looked at me angrily, as if she couldn't understand why I refused. Finally, she couldn't hold back anymore. "I don't even like you. I love someone else. Even then, you still won't sign." After those words, the living room fell into long silence. I tried to ignore the sharp pain in my chest and replied in a hoarse voice, "You love him, only because you've forgotten." Hailey froze, then stood up and left, leaving only one sentence behind. "Suit yourself. Drag this out if you want." I sat in the empty living room, suddenly unsure how much longer I could endure. From that day, Hailey and I entered a cold war. I'd cook. She wouldn't eat. She slept in the master bedroom. I took the guest room. Her leg injury from the accident still hadn't healed. She couldn't stand too long. Knowing she was too proud to ask, I would leave the food, then head to the studio. I only felt relieved when I came back to find the food eaten. Peter called me after hearing about it. "You're such a damn simp." I was kneading dough and paused at his words. Then I said bitterly, "She just doesn't remember. I never told anyone." But during the 4 years we were married, Hailey had never treated me like this. During those years, she was a loving partner. We went on dates, kissed, loved. On winter nights, I picked her up after work. She would run into my arms in her thick coat and slip her hands into mine. On the way home, she'd chatter about what happened at work. We'd roll dice to decide who'd cook or wash dishes, even though I always ended up doing both. We'd shop for groceries together. She'd make me change my profile picture to something silly. We'd wear pajamas, curl up on the couch, and guess the killer in mystery movies. She'd get mad, refuse to eat, change her avatar, and forbid me from changing mine. But at work, she was the calm, professional manager Hailey. During those years, she rejected all suitors without hesitation. So I had truly been loved by her. Letting go wasn't easy. I thought, maybe I could try harder. We had already spent 8 years together. 1 or 2 more wouldn't kill me. I made up reasons to take Hailey Hailey to the places we once visited, foolishly hoping maybe she'd remember. But each time, Tony would call and she'd leave, or she'd be too busy chatting with him on her phone. Eventually, she stopped going out with me. I tried to tell her stories from our 4 years. She rarely responded, and when I talked too much, she'd cut me off impatiently. Watching her, smiling at her phone while texting Tony, I went quiet. Hailey's birthday was 2 weeks away. I made reservations long in advance, decorated the private room just how she liked it. That morning, I woke up early, baked her a cake. After she ate, I handed her a box. Hailey, happy birthday. Lately, things between us had softened, almost like friends. We both pretended to forget the failed divorce conversation, but I knew we couldn't go back. Not really. Hailey smiled politely. Can I open it now? I nodded. Inside was a dress. At first glance, I thought it would look beautiful on her. She opened it, and her eyes sparkled with surprise. My tense heart finally relaxed. I've made a dinner reservation at your favorite restaurant tonight. If you like the dress, you could wear it. We had lunch with her parents, then stayed there until evening. We were supposed to go to dinner together, but just before we left, she got a call and hesitated. I need to go meet a friend. You go ahead. I'll come soon. I saw the caller's name, Tony. Before I could say anything, she grabbed her coat and left. I stood there, watching her. She never looked back. I wanted to stop her, to ask, will you come back? But deep down, I just wanted her to stay. In the end, I went to the restaurant alone. She said she'd come, so I waited, from 6 in the evening, until midnight. I texted, called, no answer. Then her phone was off. At midnight, 2 embarrassed waiters approached me. Mr. Rocky, we're sorry, but we close at 1 a.m. I was stunned. The dishes served 30 minutes ago were cold. The cake I made was forgotten in a corner. The roses had wilted. The sympathy in the waiter's eyes made me feel worse. But the saddest part, Hailey, you said you'd come. How could you lie? That night, she never returned. I sat alone in the living room all night. The next day, I saw her in Tony's social media post. Last night, he took her to a music festival. She wore his jacket. Her smile was carefree, brilliant. Her eyes sparkled with joy. Just as I put down my phone, she walked in. She looked at me on the couch, a flicker of surprise in her eyes, then flustered. I'm sorry about last night. I forgot. I hadn't slept. I was exhausted. I forced a smile, wanted to ask, to confront her, anything, but nothing came out. I felt empty, seeing me silent. She quickly added, Tony wanted to go to the festival. I went with him. My phone died. I couldn't call you. You didn't wait for me, right? I lowered my eyes. Softly, I waited. The air grew heavy. I stood up. I'm going to the studio. As I passed her, she suddenly called out, Rocky, you don't have anything else to ask me. What was there to ask? I didn't want to ask anything. No. I walked away. In that moment, I remembered what I told Peter. What makes you think she'll remember you? Back then, I answered so confidently. I believe in her. But Hailey, I don't know how much longer I can hold on. After that, we were both busy. I had my photography studio. She was tied up with EndoFire work. Sometimes, we didn't eat together for 2 or 3 weeks. Tony posted pictures of him having meals with her. I knew they were for me to see, and I did see. And strangely, I started to feel nothing, like my whole life had revolved around Hailey. And now, maybe it was time to stop. I told Peter I wanted to help Hailey remember, but somewhere along the way, I had let go without realizing it. At the end of the month, our high school class president organized a reunion. I hadn't planned on going, but he messaged me repeatedly, so I cleared the night. Part of me wondered, would Hailey come? She did. With Tony, only a few close friends knew about our marriage. Most of our classmates had no idea, so when they walked in together, everyone assumed they were a couple. A drunk classmate shouted, damn, you two really stayed together all these years, huh? I saw Hailey open her mouth, about to explain, but Tony stepped in. It's been years. We should drink. His vague words painted their relationship as ambiguous. I looked at Hailey, hoping for something, anything, but she just smiled and joined the others. She didn't look at me, not even once, as if I was just another classmate. The thread in my heart grew lighter, so light, I could barely hold on anymore. Halfway through the class reunion, the class president messaged me asking to talk outside. He didn't speak until his cigarette was almost burned out. Then slowly he began. You liked Hailey back in high school, didn't you? It wasn't exactly a secret. Back then it wouldn't have surprised anyone if someone had a crush on Hailey. But what he said next stunned me. The one who chased away those thugs behind the school for her. The one who left candies on her desk for an entire semester. That was you, wasn't it? I instinctively asked. How did you know? He patted my shoulder. Rocky, I'm sorry. I saw it. I knew it was you. But when Hailey thought it was Tony who did all those things, I didn't step up and tell her the truth. Suddenly I couldn't hear anything. Like missing a step on the stairs. My heart skipped a beat. After a long pause, I finally spoke. Before she and Tony got together, I wrote her a letter telling her everything. How did she still think it was Tony? The class president frowned. I don't know, but when Tony brought Hailey to dinner to celebrate their relationship, he claimed all those things were done by him. A bad feeling suddenly gripped my heart. Before I could process it, the air was suddenly filled with smoke, and a fire alarm began to blare. A crowd rushed out of the restaurant in panic. There was a fire. I froze for a moment. Then instinct took over, and I ran back inside. Hailey was still in there. The class president grabbed my arm. "What are you doing? It's dangerous. Don't go back in." I shook him off. Hailey is still inside, because we had worried about disturbing others while drinking. The private room had been reserved on the second floor far in the corner. By the time I got inside, the first floor was already in chaos. People were running for their lives. The fire was spreading fast. When I reached the second floor, they clearly had no idea about the fire outside. Some were completely passed out drunk. After I shouted about the fire, the more sober ones started waking the others, dragging them toward the exit. I scanned the room and found Hailey. I ran to her and grabbed her hand, pulling her toward the stairs. We didn't exchange a single word. She clutched my hand tightly and followed. Just as we passed the restroom, she stopped hesitating. "Tony, he went to the bathroom just now." I paused. Her worried expression said it all. She tried to move toward the restroom, but I tightened my grip and pulled her forward. "No time. We need to get out first." But Hailey tried to speak, but I dragged her out without letting go. By the time we got outside, the fire department had arrived, and the flames were starting to come under control. Only then did I notice a large scrape on my arm, probably from rushing through debris. I hadn't felt it at the time, but now a sharp stinging pain spread across it. Hailey looked around frantically, searching the crowd. I remembered what the class president had just told me. Despite barely escaping the fire, I couldn't hold it in. "Hailey, the person who left candy on your desk for an entire semester, who chased off those thugs behind school. Do you know?" "Tony." The rest of my sentence got stuck in my throat. Hailey ran toward Tony, standing in the distance. Her eyes were red with relief. "I'm so glad you're okay." The two of them hugged tightly. The image pierced through me, like a fraying thread that finally snapped. It was all so familiar. I remembered back in high school, when Tony got into a fight. I happened to pass by while working a part-time job. Coincidentally, I knew the guys Tony was fighting. Hailey showed up, saw me, and immediately assumed I was the one who caused the trouble. She glared at me furious. "Rocky, I regret it. I regret ever helping you. You bully your classmates. You're always causing trouble. Don't you understand what respect means? I can't believe I once thought you would change." The disgust in her eyes was so raw. I couldn't say anything. I wanted to tell her it wasn't me. I never caused trouble. I didn't send anyone after Tony. I wanted to say, "I'm not that bad." That day my boss even praised me for being hardworking. I save all my part-time wages. I've always been respectful, but the words wouldn't come out. My throat felt dry and tight. I looked at Tony, hoping he would speak up and clear my name, but he just glanced at me and said nothing. So I could only watch as Hailey helped Tony walk past me. At first I hadn't planned to confess it was me, but I didn't want Hailey to think that being liked by someone like me was something disgusting. I spent a week writing dozens of failed drafts, until I finally wrote a decent love letter to Hailey. I wrote that maybe I had a bad temper, but I never bullied anyone. I told her I had liked her for a long time. I wrote that the guy who chased away those thugs that night was me, and that I ran away because I was afraid she'd misunderstand. I also told her that the candies left on her desk each day, never the same, for an entire semester. That was me too. There was so much more I wanted to say, but what I wanted most to say was, "Hailey, I like you so much. I'm not that bad. Can't you give me a chance?" But the class president told me tonight. Hailey never knew. Maybe the letter got lost, or stepped on, or thrown away. Maybe it got dirty. So many years of affection and courage, never known by anyone. But when I saw Hailey run toward Tony in that life or death moment, I realized it doesn't matter anymore, whether she knew or not. I don't care now. I guess this is it. My love was never known to you. In your memory, I'm still the same worthless guy. Nothing has ever changed, whether she knew or not. I know I can't walk with her any longer. That night, I looked at them one last time and turned away. I went to the hospital to bandage my arm. By the time I got home, it was almost 1 a.m. The house was brightly lit. When she saw me, Hailey's eyes lit up. "You're back." I said nothing. I went to the bathroom to wash my face, trying to clear my mind. She followed closely behind, talking nonstop. "I looked everywhere for you just now. You didn't answer your phone. You must be exhausted. I packed some food for you. Come eat. What happened to your arm? Did you get hurt? Did you go to the hospital? Why didn't you tell me? I could have gone with you." I interrupted her. "Hailey, I agreed to the divorce. I used to think I'd never be able to say those words, not with how much I loved her, but I had overestimated myself. I said, 'Hailey, this is the end. Let's close the chapter on these 10 years of youth.'" I turned and walked away. It's too late tonight. I'll pack my things and leave tomorrow. Hailey blocked my way. Why did you suddenly change your mind? Why the divorce now? My head felt like it was going to explode. I didn't want to speak. I gently pushed her aside. You can have the lawyer redraft the agreement. I don't want your money. Whatever proper title as you please. I was too tired. My body felt like a rusted machine, barely able to move. Behind me, Hailey's trembling voice came. Rocky, are you sure? You said it yourself once we divorce. There's no going back. I didn't stop. I kept walking. Yeah, I won't regret it. Lying in bed, I thought to myself, I really need some rest. I dreamt a lot that night. Of my younger self. Of Hailey in high school. Of our 4 years of marriage. But what never changed was the look of disgust in her eyes. When I woke up, it was nearly 11. I packed quickly. There wasn't much. I figured given how eager she was for the divorce, the papers would be ready by morning. But instead, breakfast was waiting on the table. I froze. Hailey sat on the couch like nothing had happened. I made breakfast. Try it. If this had been before, I might have been happy. But now, all I felt was tired. I shook my head. No thanks. I'm not hungry. When you have time, message me. We'll settle the divorce. Tony, he's not someone worth your future. You should think it over again. That night, if Tony had really been in the bathroom, I wouldn't have left him behind. But when I ran back into the building, I caught a glimpse. Tony had already rushed out from the restroom. I picked up my suitcase, ready to leave. A crash sounded behind me. Hailey shouted, Rocky, if you leave now, don't ever come back. Even though it was a house I had lived in for 4 years, stepping out the door still sent a pang through my heart. I told myself, Rocky, it's really over this time. I returned to the studio, planned to finish the photo shoots I had promised a few clients. Those days I was busy working and waiting, but Hailey never contacted me until one night. She sent a message. Rocky, someone broke into the house. I'm scared. Without hesitation, I dropped my camera and rushed to her. It was the fastest I'd ever moved. When I arrived, the living room was a mess. Blankets, pillows scattered everywhere. The security guards and police were at the door. Hailey was sitting on the floor. I steadied my breath, checked her from head to toe. No injuries. I felt some relief. I whispered, can you stand? She shook her head, then reached out and wrapped her arms tightly around my neck. Helpless, I picked her up and placed her on the couch. After explaining things to the police, I turned on the TV for her, then began tidying up. While cleaning, I spoke. You should stay at your parents' place for now. Come back when the thief is caught, and when you do, take the key off the chain. If you hear anything suspicious, hide and call the police. Don't come out. Call the cops immediately. Then I stopped talking. I realized Hailey might not want to hear any of this. Rocky, my stomach hurts. Did you skip dinner? She nodded. I sighed and went to the kitchen. As I boiled the noodles, it hit me what I was doing. Then I felt arms wrap around my waist. I froze. My first instinct was to push her away, but Hailey, choking back sobs, said, Rocky, I regret it. Let's not get divorced. Please. I didn't say a word. I quietly finished cooking, brought the noodles to the table, waited until she had eaten. Then I said, Hailey, even when you're alone, make sure you eat. Some memories fade, but some habits live deep in the soul. Hailey was used to having me there. Someone who cooked when she was hungry, reminded her to wear more clothes when she was cold. When that person suddenly disappeared, she panicked, but I knew those memories were never truly real. When Peter, my childhood friend, found out I was divorcing Hailey, he was silent for a long time. Finally, he sighed and asked, Are you sure about this? I held my glass of wine, a little lost in thought. I just nodded. I planned to close the studio for a while next year, go travel for some time, but there was still one thing left. Hailey hadn't given me the divorce papers, so I had no choice but to text her and ask when she'd be available. Hailey, however, always had an excuse. She was working or having dinner with her parents. After a few times, I understood what she meant. The end of the year brought a flood of clients, and as I got busy, I ended up forgetting about the divorce altogether. Just like that, it dragged on until the new year. During that time, our parents started sensing something was wrong. Normally, both families would celebrate together, but this year it didn't feel right. I explained to my parents in advance. Then the night before New Year's Eve, Hailey called me. Rocky, can you come over for dinner tonight at my place? As if afraid I'd refuse, she quickly added, My parents want to see you. Since she even brought up her parents, I had no choice but to agree. That evening, I bought some gifts, then picked up Hailey from her office. We went to her parents' place together. Dinner was pleasant enough, and in front of her parents, neither of us mentioned divorce. After dinner, I helped Hailey clean up the dishes, then said I should head out. Hailey put on her coat and walked me out. We didn't speak until we reached the parking lot. Then she finally said, When I first woke up, I really did want to divorce you. I ignored the sting in my chest, pretended to be lighthearted. Yeah, you wouldn't even drink my soup. Told me to get lost. Hailey smiled too, but as she smiled, she suddenly stopped. After a moment of silence, she continued, After I woke up, I kept thinking I loved Tony, but when I was with him, I wasn't really happy. The night you said you wanted to divorce me, I felt strange. It hurt. Rocky, it's weird. I don't even remember loving you. So why does it still hurt this much? She grabbed my hand. Rocky, can we not get divorced? Can we start over? My heart ached, but in the end, I took out a greeting card and placed it in her hand. Hailey, Happy New Year. We can't go back. Not every mistake can be fixed, and I couldn't keep throwing myself in again again and again. After the new year, my schedule finally cleared up. Hailey, on the other hand, started texting me often. Sometimes she'd come to the studio. Sometimes she'd find excuses to ask me out. This went on until last week. Then this week, she suddenly stopped messaging me. I only received one text from her, asking to meet at a CAF. When I arrived, Hailey was wearing a dark coat and a scarf, her hair loose over her shoulders. She smiled when she saw me. "Rocky, you're here." That was when I knew something was different. I hesitated and asked, "Did your memory come back?" Hailey silently nodded. We sat there in silence. Then she looked at me and said, "I'm sorry for what happened after I lost my memory." I sighed, feeling so many emotions all at once. If only she had remembered sooner. If only I had held on a little longer. But there's no such thing as if. I had already reached my limit. After another moment, Hailey said, "Tony came back from abroad because he lost money in a startup. He rushed back after hearing about my accident, hoping I'd help him financially." When I heard that, I finally relaxed. If Hailey figured this out, then she wouldn't get back together with Tony. Knowing her, she probably wouldn't let him off easy either. We eventually brought up the divorce. Looking at the woman I'd loved for nearly a decade, I only felt sorrow and regret. "I'm sorry about the divorce," she said. "You still want to go through with it?" I nodded. We signed the agreement and decided to go to the registry next Monday. Just before I left, Hailey said softly, "I didn't know it was you who drove off those bullies for me, or who left candy in my desk for a whole semester. I always thought it was Tony." Her voice trembled. "Rocky, I'm sorry. Maybe no one was truly at fault. Maybe I just had bad luck. Always a step too late." It wasn't until later that I found out. Tony had thrown away my love letter back then. When I learned that, I didn't say anything, just sat in silence for a long time. That night before sleeping, all I could think was, damn, I really did have terrible luck. Once the divorce was finalized, I closed the studio, turned down all shooting offers, and started planning my year-long trip. But then I heard news from Peter. Apparently, Tony had people chasing him down for debts. Broke and desperate, he started begging old classmates for money. But everyone knew what kind of person he was by then. No one would lend him a cent. Some even took the chance to give him a few kicks while he was down. His reputation was ruined completely. He used to care so much about that. Now it was in shambles. Peter told me the story with great satisfaction. Serves him right. Taking advantage of others' misfortune. Karma got him. I just laughed, hung up the phone, and went back to planning my trip. I traveled for a full year. Saw so many sights I'd never had time to see before. Throughout the year, I still thought of Hailey. Sometimes I felt sadness and regret about our story. I didn't blame her, but I couldn't forgive her either. So I left it to time. We could be strangers, classmates, friends, even enemies. But it seemed we could never be lovers again. Maybe someday, when I've fully let go, Hailey and I can sit down together, have a drink, chat about the old days. I'll tell her about all the foolish things I did when I loved her. And maybe I'll tell her how I spent a whole year learning to forget. The end. If you like Kitten's story, please follow and like it. Updated every morning at 9 a.m.